Optimum Derby Live. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Martin Crowson. I'm the host, and I'm joined as ever by the MD of Optimum, Tom Healy. Tom, how are you?
Good. Thank you, mate. Just gathering my ski stuff together.
Good. You've got some really high-tech kit to show us today. We've just been looking before we went live today, so looking forward to sharing that with everybody. It's the final one of our 5 series on skiing injuries and skiing techniques and equipment. Today, the final one focuses specifically on the equipment and asks, does your skiing gear really matter? If you're at the top of the slopes, ready to start your holiday, I think you're ready to go. But are your bindings the right weight? Are your skis the right ski boots in the right position to give you the balance you need to tackle the slopes? And is that pink and luminous yellow ski jacket going to make sure everybody looks at you whilst you're carving it up? We'll find out in a few minutes. Tom, got any of those luminous ski kit? I once had a very, very bright purple salopettes, which I felt cool in at the time, but just appalling now to look back.
I try to just blend in, mate. I try not to just stand out when I'm skiing. I try and blend in. But we had a someone's birthday a few years ago, and we all went in retro ski gear. So we had all this. I don't know. I can't remember what the material's called. It's like a shell suit material.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, it rained. We all got drenched. It was just wet through the bone. It was so funny. It was so funny. We all looked cool, but we had this clothing on that was freezing cold and wet. Not good.
Joining us on LinkedIn today, thank you. You're very welcome. If you're with us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. You'll be first to know about when we're back on. There's a whole raft of videos that we've done over the last 18 months, not just relating to skiing, but footballing injuries and all sorts of injuries and problems that the everyday sportsman or woman likes to tackle. Let's crack on, Tom, and we'll get onto luminous ski jackets later. But let's start with the basics: boots and skis, making sure you've got the proper fitting. And personally, when you're in that room getting your ski boots and skis fitted, and they tell you ask you what your weight is, and they're tweaking the bindings, I always leave there thinking, does that person know what they're on about? Because if they don't, I'm going to break my leg or my ankle.
Yeah.
Are those fears normal?
Yes and no. I think, to be honest, I think you've got to trust those guys. I think it's like a car MOT. You know, they're doing it every day. They must fit so many skis and boots in a season.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. That's their job. They live there. It's kind of like routine for them. They know what they're doing.
Tom, just to interrupt you, for someone that's going on their first ever ski trip, just explain about what is that process?
Yeah, so it depends. So you've either got your own kit, which you take all your own gubbins, and you've got your boots and your skis and your poles, or hire it all when you get there. So if you're hiring it all, you'll often get to resort. And if you've got chance, you'll probably get it the day you arrive. If not, get it first thing in the morning before you sort of head out on that first day on the slopes. Normally it's in obviously a ski shop downstairs, hidden away in a little bunker, and tell them your shoe size and they'll get you some boots. And then they'll get you some skis measured to a height. It's normally about 80% of what your normal height is, roughly, give or take. And then they'll set what they call the DIN settings. So that's relevant to your weight, okay? And it's also not just your weight, it's all relevant to your skiing ability as well. So if and it's quite important you give them the right sort of weight. If you're within a couple of kilos, it's fine, but just kind of roughly the right sort of weight. Because what they're trying to do there is put a setting into the bindings on the skis so that the bindings will pop off and the boots and the skis will separate. If you have an incident or an accident or you kind of get caught into a bit of ice, that they'll pop off, rather than if you're an advanced skier, you'll often go across a lot of those surfaces and want obviously the boot and the ski to remain in contact. So yeah, I would certainly trust those guys, and I think they do it every day. It's run of the mill for those guys out there in resort. But
it's a good idea to weigh yourself before you go there.
Yeah, just have a rough idea. Even as long as you're within 2 or 3 kilos, it's not a huge problem. But just have an idea of what you weigh.
Weigh yourself before you go, not when you get back after 7 days of cakes, fire-ups, and lager.
Yeah, and tartiflette. Yeah, plenty of tartiflette.
Yeah, good advice. So, how much of an edge, no pun intended, can good skis give you?
Yeah, huge. Yeah, huge. And there's loads of different skis for loads of different things. So I would not almost go over egotistical and almost when they ask you the question, how good of a skier are you? I would just be honest and say, how good of a skier are you, and what sort of runs would you do?
Yeah.
If you're cruising around on reds and then you're an average or been a few times, and they then say, you tell them you're going off piste, they'll set your skis up in a different way altogether, in a different manner altogether. And the problem there is then you've got a setting of this, and actually you're only cruising around at this. So if you do have a crash, it's probably not going to be enough to pop that off, and that just increases your risk of injury and getting tangled up and stuff. So just be honest as to what level you're at and what sort of things you're going to be doing.
Yeah, that honesty is key there, I suppose, isn't it? And if I want to buy my own, both boots and skis, what sort of costs are we looking at?
Boots are anything from probably 100, 150 quid to maybe, well, you can spend a fortune, maybe 400 quid, but you'd get a good set. I've had mine for years now, and they were sort of like 180 quid, I think, and I've had them for ages. They're not meant to be comfortable. They're just not made for that. I'll show you mine. These are mine. So like that. So you can. They've got two straps on the bottom, another ratchet strap, and then you've got sort of a Velcro strap on the top. A lot of the new ones now, or sort of advanced ones, will have sort of 4 buckles and then a 5th sort of ratchet strap across the top. And you'll see almost from the shape, if I hold it flat, that you're already into a forward lean. The boot will put you into a forward lean position. So you're always, you kind of want to have pressure through the front of the boot, sort of through this part of the boot and through here, not so much through the back of the boot and through there.
Yeah.
Okay? Obviously, you can undo the straps if you're walking around, so you can just flick these up and just kind of make it a little bit more comfortable to walk around in. But generally speaking,
that's supposed to be a snug fit when all those straps are done up.
Yeah, snug fit, and there shouldn't really be too much, other than just to wiggle your toes. There shouldn't be much room for your foot to slide back and forth. It should be pretty much into the back, and then tight enough that you sort of like got pressure through the front of your shin, really.
Sure. Okay.
But again, there's lots of good places in the UK that you can go and get, like Snow and Rock, for example, Decathlon. Loads of good places in the UK you can go and get those sorts of things fitted as well. Yeah.
Okay. They'll do the fitting at the shop.
Yeah, Ellis Brigham. Yeah. Some of them will do the heated footbeds as well. So we'll almost heat the boot, get it nice and warm, and then get you to kind of get your feet inside and then let it set almost, and it will kind of form around you and your foot and become a bit more specific and more comfortable to yourself.
Cool. Okay, I didn't realise that. What about the skis themselves?
Skis will range from all sorts of different sort of levels as well. So you can have these really diddy skis that are tiny, tiny little ones. You don't see them as much anymore. They're kind of like fun little freestyle skis. Or you can get sort of like really long racing skis. Depends on what sort of type of thing you're going to be doing. If you're going to be going off piste, then you're probably going to be getting like fat, wider skis, because you then create a bit of a greater surface area to cruise across the top of the powder and the fluffy snow. Or you have slightly longer ones if you're just interested in carving, and they'll be almost like an upside down pair, I suppose. So quite skinny in the middle and then start to like bow out a little bit towards the top. Okay. But yeah, if you're renting them and you just tell them what sort of level of skier you are, then they'll give you the right appropriate types of skis. And again, if you've got your own at home, just make sure you get them serviced and sort of maintained and waxed and edged before you go out.
Yeah. You got some skis to show us as well today.
Yeah, I've got some old school. I've
Very
got a couple of So this is an old school pair. These are massive. These are, what are these? 190 somethings? I saw it earlier. 200s. They're 200s. They're huge. So these are 200 centimeters tall. These are much bigger than I am. These are like racing skis. Really skinny, really thin.
Yeah.
These are probably from the 90s, 80s or 90s. They're like an old school classic atomic pair. But you'll see here, the bindings haven't really changed an awful lot. Okay, so
no, have they?
No, the front of the binding and the back of the binding are still very similar.
Yeah.
So when you put your foot in here, you'll jam the front in and then you'll snap down. This black bit here will drop down. Let's see if I can do it like that. And these are a bit old. That should pop up.
Yeah. And then you're in place.
Yeah, and then you're locked in place. And what will then happen is as you want to get out, you push down on that and it will release. And again, that's all relative to the right size and settings and weight.
Nice.
And then another old school pair.
They look like from my childhood.
Could you imagine ever skiing on them? Look at that. So we've come a long way in sort of not that long a time, really. Come a long way.
What are they dated at, Tom?
Sorry, say it again.
What are they dated at?
Oh, do you know what? I have no idea. I don't know. I bet they're like 20s, maybe 30s, something like that.
Wow. Even before.
Yeah, you can see sort of the bottom of these newer ones have got sort of a lot of waxy layers on them, and then you've got a sharp edge down the side here.
Yeah.
Depending on what sort of surfaces you're cruising around on and skiing on, you'll cut into this in different ways. So you can edge this to different angles or different degrees. That gets quite techy and quite specific. But essentially, if you've got your own pair, you want to make sure that they're nice and waxed and nice and slippy, really. And depending on the conditions that you're on, you might want to re-wax them during the week as well, which really isn't that hard. Like a bar of wax, an iron, and then drip it on, and then just iron it on, and it just smooths itself out. You'll need to do a few other bits as well, but it's really not that difficult.
Cool. All right, let's move away from the skis and the boots. The bits and bobs that are almost no less important, and that's helmets. I've seen people flying around with hats on because they think they look cooler, or they don't like the constraints of having a helmet. But how important is that piece of equipment?
Super important. And as it just makes sense. I'm a bit lost as to why people don't wear a helmet. Sort of just a bit lost as to why that is the case still. I know when I first started skiing as a kid, like there were few people wearing helmets and lots wearing hats.
Yeah,
I was flipped completely the other way now, and the person who's skiing around with a hat on is a bit of the odd one out. So yeah, you can get loads of helmets, again, not expensive.
Yeah, that looks like a Decathlon one. I recognise that. Am I right?
This is a POC one. Now, this is a couple of years old, this one, and a lot of them now I would recommend if you can get them with something called MIPS, MIPS.
Yeah,
it's just an extra added protection for if you bang your head. So if you do come off, hit your head on the ice or hit a rock, for example, the MIPS ones have got an added protection layer as well. So if you're going to buy any helmet, it doesn't really matter too much what brand, as long as it's comfortable and fits your head. I would say go for one that's got MIPS in it, MIPS technology.
Okay. And what we're looking at there, cost-wise, very big goggles, Tom.
Yeah, under 100 for a helmet, like 100, 110 tops maybe.
Yeah.
That's POC, and that's a good brand. Goggles. So you got goggles there, and you can get goggles with various lenses in as well.
Yeah.
So different lenses for different lights. A lot of the brands of goggles will come with a couple of different lenses in them. If not, you can buy additions to your specific sort of style of goggle, I suppose. And just in flat light, where it's kind of like a mix between cloud and snow and it's difficult to see, or whether it's like a real bright blue day, you'll vary your lenses up a little bit accordingly. Yeah.
And the importance of that helmet, I guess, is highlighted in the fact that people go and you think it's just lovely, soft and fluffy snow like we get at home when we get a couple of inches around here, but there are hidden dangers under slopes, aren't there?
Yeah, and every night they'll go out and bash the slopes. So they'll go out and piece the slopes and compress it down and squash it down, and then it freezes. So what they're trying to do there is compact the snow and make it real nice and tight. And then, like we just said there, it freezes overnight, so then it becomes rock hard. Only maybe in the afternoon, once it's been churned up a little bit and it warms up, that it might soften. But even then, it's still rock hard. And like you said, underneath the top layer, you've got rocks, and it's a mountain essentially. So there's rocks and things underneath it.
Briefly touch on a few things to keep you warm: gloves, base layers, socks.
Yeah, gloves, base layers. Yeah, so gloves are super important. You can get like silk liners as well. So if you're going somewhere super cold, like a silk lining pair that are quite close to the skin, and then a pair of gloves on top. I should like
where you were last year, Tom, with the British ski snowboard team in Scandinavia when you're late minus 20s.
Yeah, it was freezing. Yeah, minus 25, I think it was. It was freezing. I had mittens, so I always wear mittens, and they're like leather mittens, so they're water repellent, and they're almost waterproof. So in that humidity that we had in Scandinavia, it was really humid and cold, so it kind of just got through the jackets. Unless you wore Gore-Tex, it got through and it was just freezing.
Yeah.
So another thing to consider, again, like talking about jackets, Gore-Tex, if you're going somewhere that's going to be a bit sort of damp, if you're going somewhere that's just going to be cold, you can probably just get away with a like this one, like a down jacket that's not got Gore-Tex. But the silk liners are really good. And then again, I would wear layers. So rather than wearing like 2 or 3 real big things, I would try and layer up, because what you can easily do then is take bits off and add bits on and warm up or cool down.
Yeah.
And whereas if you've got a couple on, you're a bit restricted and a bit limited.
And out of interest, Tom, when you were with the British last winter, what do they wear under their, lycra leotards?
So to be honest, my moguls team, we wear jackets not too dissimilar to this. So a bit baggier than this, with a little bit more room and freedom in. And the same thing for the salopettes, kind of baggier salopettes. And then they'll wear similar to what you or I would wear underneath. They're not out in the cold probably as much as myself or the coach are. So they may only be out for 2 or 3 hours. So they don't wear loads and loads of stuff underneath. They might wear a pair of long johns, your typical socks, and then a jumper or a t-shirt or something, and then just a jacket on top. So not loads and loads of layers. Sometimes they wear a hat under the helmet, but not always either.
Okay. Socks wise, normal pair of socks covered by a woolly one, or just one pair?
I tend to go one pair, and that's more from blisters. I would rather wear one like really good pair, and that's something I don't really like, getting cold feet. That's one thing I really hate. So I tend to buy a nice woolly pair of socks, real good pair. And even last year when it was freezing cold in Scandinavia, I was looking at pairs of socks in the shops, and they had heated socks. So they had like little battery packs on them that were controlled for a little thing, and you could heat the socks up.
Oh, that is amazing.
I was so tempted until I saw the price tag at 250 quid. And I thought, I can't spend £250 on a pair of socks. One thing I did buy though, really useful, these are hand warmers.
Oh yes, good.
So they've just got a little charger on the end, like a USB charger. You click them on, they've got a couple of different settings on them. Put them inside your gloves, or tuck them inside if you're on a lift, sort of thing. Get your hands nice and warm, and then just pop them back in your pocket again. You can even leave them on your pocket.
Also, disposable ones are really cheap as well most of the time. Amazon, we've used them in the past. You can get 10 pairs for 7 or 8 quid. And they last for a good day as well whilst you're out there.
Good. Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. And you can get are they the ones that you put in the hot water when you get back to reset them?
No, I've never seen those.
So they're also really good. They're like gel with a little weird button inside them. And if you're staying in a self-catered accommodation, you can just pop them back in a pot of boiling water, bring them to boil, and then they kind of reset themselves. So the next day, all you got to do is click this little button and they warm up again. They're great.
Yeah. They really are a godsend, especially if you like slipping them inside your gloves on a ski lift or something like that, or between slopes to warm up.
Yeah,
make a massive difference.
Yeah, really good.
Okay, technical gear out of the way. What about looking good on the slopes? What brands we got? What we're looking at?
Is a lot
in this year.
Oh, I don't know what's in. Good question. North Face is always a good place to start. Their kit's good and good quality. I like Peak Performance's gear. I don't really like things that have got too many things going on. So I like the Peak Performance gear as well. It's real simple, just like a real simple logo. Real quality stuff though. Atomic have got some good gear in this year that I've seen. And you don't need to, the thing is, you don't need to replace your gear every year. So your jacket and your salopettes, you only wear them for once a year, like for a week. So unless you've torn them up or shredded them, you can wear your ski jacket obviously throughout the year if you want to for walks or whatever in the countryside. But your salopettes, unless they're trashed, you just wear them again. They're great. They last generally quite a long time. Yeah,
it makes you wonder, doesn't it? You end up like wear them for 6 days a year, how much you would wear a normal pair of joggers or jeans or something
absolutely,
like that.
Absolutely. And look out in the January sales. There'll be loads of bargains coming up in Jan. TK Maxx have some good stuff. They always have some like random bits on hangers if you can be bothered to cut through that. Decathlon's great to go and try a load of stuff on and see what you like and don't like. There's loads of good places to go.
Okay, good point to stop on, Tom. If you want to find out a little bit more about what Tom does with Optimum Derby, please have a look at the website there. You can find out more details there. If you'd like to email Tom with some injury worries you may have, or you've picked up an injury on the slopes and you need to get it sorted, you can book yourself in or email Tom there and find out some more information there. If you've not visited a YouTube channel yet, please subscribe to it, and please do so, because there's a huge volume of videos we've done on there recently. How to warm up at the top of the slopes or back in your chalet. This is part of the ski series we're doing at the moment. How to prepare yourself, not only physically but mentally, for what's coming up as well. We've done ones on specific skiing injuries, including how to reduce the risk of knee injuries, which I'm sure anyone that's been skiing has had a little flirt with a knee injury. And previously, we've done things like the causes, treatment, and prevention of sciatica as well, another issue for certainly those of us who are getting a bit long in the tooth and still like to go skiing as well. So please have a look at the YouTube site to find out more about that. That just leaves me, Martin Crowson, to thank you, Tom, for joining us again today. Appreciate all your advice. Tom, when you're next seeing the Moguls team, British Moguls?
End of Jan to North America, so the States and Canada.
Nice. Okay, mate.
End of Jan.
Speak to you before then. Thanks a lot, as ever, for joining us today here on Optimum Live on either YouTube or LinkedIn. We appreciate your time. We'll catch up with you soon here on Optimum Derby. All the best, and enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.